Hello and welcome to Awakened Entrepreneur Revolution. In this podcast, you will discover how to co-create success in your business by aligning mind, body, and soul. Tune in each week to hear unconventional ways to build your business by focusing on sales and marketing energetics, mixing the woo and the do to enroll more clients, transform more lives, and create the ripple effect you know you are here to make. The traditional approach hasn't resonated with you because it is not meant for you. You've simply evolved past it. The energy is shifting. Old bro tactics and strategies are not working anymore. And you know there is a more aligned, more authentic, and far more impactful approach for you. Join me, Jana Nixa, the Authentic Sales Coach, and a special guest each week as I discover how they co-created their multi-6 and 7-figure businesses by taking inspired action and cultivating success from the inside out. Let's transcend the traditional together to massively up-level your business and to live your purpose on purpose. Hello and welcome back to Awakened Entrepreneur Revolution. My guest today is the epitome of truly following your heart and really doing what you're called here to do. With a background in environmental education, 6 years ago, Michelle decided to pivot her career into marketing and started up a whole video production agency where she led a team to create high-end animated videos for technology, health, and consulting companies, including Marriott Hotels. However, a few years ago, she found that her true passion and skills were in writing. Talk about a double threat, right? So she decided to focus fully on freelance copywriting. She has been an email copywriter now for the last 2 years, serving coaches, consultants, and has helped generate thousands in sales. Please welcome Michelle Pitcher. Is that right? We didn't talk about
that.
Yeah.
Thank
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are
Good.
you? Thanks so much for having me on your show.
Of course. And I love that you had this full-blown agency. Well, first off, I don't know that I've ever met anybody that was that's really good at video and like, oh, wait, no, actually I'm a copywriter. So that's pretty cool. And then the other thing is, what a pivot, right? Like how I know my audience wants to hear because I have a lot of conscious, heart-centered entrepreneurs here that listen to this. And when we get that calling and that deep knowing, even in the light of things going well, like having clients like Marriott, for goodness sake, but still saying, you know what, there's a different way for me. So I'd love to hear more about that story.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so the thing was like during COVID, video was becoming such a popular thing on social media, just for brands to basically explain who they are and what they did. So I pretty much just saw it as a massive opportunity at that time to just get into the video production business. There was like a huge demand for it. A lot of companies needed help. And so that was kind of how I got into it. And, I met a lot of amazing people. I did like so many great projects. I had an amazing team that I was working with. But there was just something that didn't really feel like it was me. Like I just kind of felt like, okay, I don't know if I really want to be doing this. Now there's a lot of people that are also kind of doing the same thing and making these videos that are, maybe good, maybe not so good. I was more into like the creative side of it, like the actual strategy of like how to put a video together. I was into like scripting the videos, but then when it came to like putting in all the graphics and stuff, it just kind of got to the point where I was not interested in it anymore. And at that time, I was really I'm one of those people who's always like keeping my options in my mind open and just like open to trying new things. I'm not like married to one thing. And so I had been watching this copywriting coach named Alex Catoni. She has like the Copy Posse, and I kind of became like addicted to all of her content and her videos. And I was like, oh, this is just so much fun. I was like, I've been doing copywriting for my agency, for my business, for different clients. I was even like copywriting and ghostwriting for my husband's coaching business. And I was like, this just feels like so much more natural and me. So then, even though I had like people sending me referrals, people like reaching out to me for projects and stuff, I was like, okay, I'm just going to stop trying to grow this video agency and just focus on copywriting and just like simplifying and not having to like, I also realized through that whole experience that like I'm not a big fan of having to like manage people in general. Like it just gets a little bit stressful when there's like multiple people involved and you have to make sure everyone is like doing things and coordinating it perfectly. And I would find myself at like 3 a.m. having to wake up and check like my notifications, like, oh, did this happen? Did this person send this? I'm waiting for this. And I don't know, it just got like so stressful. So I was like, okay, I need to find like my zone of genius and just focus on that and just forget all the complexity. And so that was why I just wanted to like simplicity, simplifying was like the biggest thing that really made me take the jump and just focus on writing for myself.
Well, I love that. And you are so speaking my language, because I think, whether it's with a team and, even for those of you that don't have a team, you're probably spreading yourself too thin, doing too many things. And what I heard you say is
Mhm.
you wanted to be in your zone of genius. And I believe that that's really where our power is. And so like when we're trying to be a copywriter when we're not, versus, somebody like you who that's your gift, it slows everything down. Because even though you feel like, oh, but I have to be a video editing ninja, and I have to be a landing page builder, and I have to learn how to email my list 5 times a week, and I have to do a lead magnet with all the things and bells, and instead, so many of my clients, I'm like, how about you just focus on coaching?
Mhm.
And let's make it simple, because it can be, whether it's just spreading yourself too thin, trying to do it all, or with the team. So I love that you really owned your own power and really stepped
Mhm.
into that zone of genius, because I know it can be scary, right? Because you've got people depending on you. So what was that moment like where you really just said, you know what? I got to do it this way. I got to do it me. I got to do me.
Mhm. I mean, it was really hard and I had a lot of resistance. And even for a while, I would still stay in the middle. Like, I think I spent at least like 6 months or more just in the middle. And even someone even, I connected with someone on LinkedIn and they were like, wow, you're doing a lot of stuff, because I still showed on there, like, I'm the founder of Real Good Videos. And then I'm also a copywriter for myself. And like, I was also copywriting for another agency. And then he's like, how do you do all of that? And I'm like, okay, I need to just like take
Own it.
that away, even though I'm kind of like I was kind of attached to it in a way. And I was thinking like, oh, if I, say I'm not doing that, then what if people reach out to me and they ask me like, hey, can you help with this? And then I have to say no. Like I'm kind of a people pleaser who always wants to say yes. And so it was a little bit difficult to get out of that sort of like messy middle space. Um, but I just kind of had to surrender and trust that this was the path. Like, I think in general, I'm pretty decisive about like making a decision and going with it. But then it's also like making sure that that is the right decision and is this what I should be doing, even though I knew like this was definitely what I should be doing. But anytime you're trying something new, there's always a little bit of risk and a little bit of uncertainty. And you're like, okay, like there was even definitely like a few months where I was like not really making that much money. And I'm like, okay, well, I just got to keep going and keep building and keep putting in the work, on a daily basis. And yeah, that's pretty much how it went.
Well, I appreciate you sharing because I know you're all about being authentic, honest, and just like an open book. And I'm the same way because I think there's so many people out there that just paint it like, even in the spiritual space, they're like, and then I woke up. The end. Everything's been roses. And it's like, that's not it, and it's the same with building a business. But, something that my clients struggle with sometimes that I love that you really highlighted here, because they're like, what if I get it wrong? What if I don't get, I go in the wrong direction or I make and it's like, you don't know until you go. And then, once you're there, that clarity comes with the action. So you're like, I found myself writing scripts. I found myself writing for my husband. And it is the way. And I think people are just like, but I just need to know the right way. And it's like, what if going through what you needed to go through is the way so that you could see what you needed to see in the process? And, the other thing I like about that I often have to really like with my clients is like you said, and then I'll just figure it out and make it work, right? Like I'll do it until it works. I just need to figure this thing out. And I would maybe assume, which is not always the greatest, but because of what you did in the video marketing space, you knew more about how the game was played. You know that everything is figure outable. And it's just a matter of figuring it out. Because sometimes I think one of the most disempowering questions entrepreneurs will ask themselves is, will this work? And that's the wrong question. The question really is, how do I make this work? Right? And figuring it out, but then also listening to that deeper guidance, because it's going to lead you ultimately where you want to go anyway. So I just love that. And then one other piece, I just wrote down a few notes that just things that I'm always trying to infuse my audience with, like the goodies, like the wisdom, like what can we learn from your experience? And you being in that middle space of, I still like, what if I don't want to have to say no, and really recognizing like that's also, even if it's like, I don't want to say no to the money, right? But like that's all coming from fear and not from inspiration. And so you finally just had to go all in. But I can't imagine, because I've built a business now and I have a team. That was no easy decision to really move in a different direction. But I'm sure now, I mean, how does it make you feel on a daily basis to really be showing up in your zone of genius and simplifying everything?
Yeah, I mean, things can get way too complicated when you're running a business and especially running like an agency. So like for me, like my favorite thing is just writing and like, of course there's some time that I spend like just on calls or, emailing, messaging, reaching out to people. It's not like I'm just writing all the time, but for me, it's amazing to just find this balance of like, my favorite thing to do is actually writing. Then when I'm tired of writing, I can do some of this other kind of stuff that I need to do, because there's always things that you don't want to do that are not fun or exciting, but you still like need to do it if you want to grow a business. And yeah, I mean, like one thing I was going to mention about like the everything is figure outable, like people, especially when you think about like you want to start your own business, but then you always have like a plan B. You're like, if it doesn't work, I'll just like go back to my old job or I'll just go get a 9 to 5. And that was something that was kind of unique with my situation, because I basically started an online business because I was like living in India and I wasn't in America where I could like get a job, and I wasn't going to like get a job in India. So I was like, okay, I have to figure out how to do this whole online business thing. And I think since I was in that mentality of like not giving myself like a plan B, it just made it where it was like with urgency, I have to just figure it out. If this doesn't work, I'm not going to just keep doing it for a long time. I'm going to try something new. And like things are just changing so fast. You have to be constantly like trying new things. So I think that was like a really powerful realization of just like not giving myself an out, basically. I'm like, okay, I'm just focusing going forward. If something doesn't work, I'm just going to like steer back and keep going.
And that's just it. I mean, and it sounds like because you already built some of that muscle, and listen, it's always going to be building it more and more and more, right? I'm constantly having to coach myself through my next level. I've just hit another glass ceiling and I have, expectations start to come in and I'm like, let's like breathe, open, soften and relax. And, just, how to navigate this now and not, making it like all or nothing, because I think that that's what we try to do. But the more you build that muscle of, well, the tweak didn't work here. Let me just go and try it this way and try it that way and become almost like, I tell my clients, like almost a delusional experimenter to
Mhm.
find like what that sweet spot is. And so many of us, we're not trained that way. It was like, find the sure thing, doesn't matter, whatever pays the most, and do it. Whereas this is
Mhm.
like, figure it out, stay in your zone of genius and what lights you up, and figure out how to be profitable at it, and
Mhm.
it's like the opposite. And so it is a
Yeah.
muscle. It gets easier. And I would ascertain, and I could be wrong, that it may have even taken you longer in limbo had you not already been through like, no, 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 I know this game. I know how this thing's done and I'll figure it out.
Mhm.
So I love that.
Yeah, because I see like a lot of times when people start an online business, they get this whole thing of like rejection, like people are rejecting me. I shouldn't be doing this. But that was one thing that was really helpful from like having an online business before and then just pivoting to like doing my own thing is like I don't really care if people reject me because this is just like a part of a part of the game and it's just like a natural thing that's always going to be happening. But yeah, it definitely helps, having some experience and like basically everything you do, no matter like even if it's related or not, it all somehow teaches you something that helps you with the next thing that you're doing.
It so does. So, a lot of people know my story. I spent decades in the sales world and never, ever had any thought of I'm so not an entrepreneur. Like, I'm not a risk taker, like I'll just collect my paycheck. Thank you very much. And, then when I went through my spiritual awakening about 12 years ago, it all shifted, and it was like an entirely different thing. And even though I hadn't prepared for the entrepreneurial journey at that point, some people may have been like, well, you wasted all that. It's like, I didn't waste any of that time. Like so much of what I learned, of course, now even the sales coaching piece was from all of those years. Even though I don't do it the bro way, it still transfers, and then I'll just set some people free on this one. Like the first program I bought coaching was, I won't say who, go viral with reels. Like the last thing I needed to do. But you know what? When I was ready and I had my message dialed in and my offer ready to go and a sales process mapped out, that whole year I tried to go viral with reels that didn't work. Guess what skill set I already had developed when the time was right. And so it's like you can hate on the choices or you can understand how it all eventually the bridge has to get built and there's all these different pieces. And so then I could pull back on, even though I broke up with Instagram at that point after a year, I was like, I'm done, but I didn't understand how to talk to my ideal client at that point and how to speak their language. And, I didn't really understand hooks. I mean, there's just so many pieces. But when the time was right, it all was like locked in, dialed in. So, I do believe there's an easier sequence to things, certainly than the route I took, but I was able to pull on those things later when the time was right. And so it just kind of takes what it takes,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, you never know like what will come in handy later on.
It's so true. It is so true. And, there's certain skill sets that have to be developed. And,
Mhm.
in order to really grow. And so it's not a waste. I don't think anything's a waste. I think everything just makes you more into the person that you're here to be anyway. So I'm
Yeah.
curious about India. Are you still there?
Yeah, so I'm not there right now. Now I'm actually in Thailand.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, you have like okay, Jana, calm down. Please continue, Michelle.
I know. It's kind of like it's hilarious because like everyone I work with is in America, so I'm like always getting on calls. They're like waking up, having their coffee, like, "Oh, good morning. How are you doing? Where are you calling in from?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm calling in from Thailand." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, I just live here." But yeah, basically what happened was I mean, I've always been a big traveler. Like I always wanted to travel, even though
Where are
I
you
grew
from
up in
originally?
I grew up in Dallas, Texas, and my
Okay.
family was
Okay.
very like conservative, and
Yeah.
they didn't go anywhere
Yeah.
really. But I remember like applying for colleges, and I was like, okay, I want to go outside of Texas. So I went to CU in Boulder, Colorado, and then once I'm there, I'm like, okay, I need to like study abroad. Then I went and studied abroad in New Zealand, and then when I was getting to the end of my school, I was like, okay, what's my job going to be? I applied to the Peace Corps. I went and did like Peace Corps in Africa, and so I was just kind of really into traveling. Like I volunteered in Mexico and Nicaragua and stuff, also in high school and college, but it was during like the gap period between like before I went to the Peace Corps, I had like 6 months to spare. So I basically just went to India by myself, even though I had some friends there because in college I had done two different yoga teacher trainings. And so I had like one of my yoga teachers, one of my other friends from yoga, another friend from yoga. I had like three or four friends that were going to India. So that's kind of why I went. And they were just raving about it. Like, this place is crazy. You got to go there. So I went there and just like pretty much fell in love with the place. I spent like 4 months there. And then after like the time in the Peace Corps, then I basically went to India every winter because I was doing environmental education and usually I didn't have to work in the winter. So I went there like every winter. And then I basically met my husband. He is from a small town that was like nearby the ashram that I was going to and spending a lot of time there. So I met him there. We lived together and traveled around India for like 2 years. And then we ended up getting married and having kids. And so that's why I pretty much lived there full time since 2020. And then after some time, India can get a little bit intense if you're living there full time. So that's why we moved to Thailand. And now we've been living in Thailand for 2 years.
Wow, Michelle, you're my hero. Can I just like take a moment? Like you did. Anybody else feeling this out there? Like you did all the things that I wanted to do and didn't do. Um, Now, I traveled and stuff, but I really wanted to immerse myself in that way. But because I had the programming of no, 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 stay in school, get a good job, because I remember wanting to join the Peace Corps and just really wanting to go and serve in other countries. And that's actually something I think that even like cracked me back open when I had my spiritual awakening because I was like, I want to show my kids other places. Like I want to go and volunteer and have the freedom. And like it just kind of all started to like bubble back up to the surface. So I just like, wow, how much courage and all, at least from where I sit, that would have took at that age, because I definitely wanted to, and I was too afraid. I was too afraid. Like,
Mhm.
I needed my plan and my good job, and then you're stuck. Then you're done. You got 2 weeks, a year. And that's how it was for the next 2 decades, So
Mhm.
that's amazing. So, I mean, it sounds like for you, you're one of those really lucky few that was already kind of cracked open from an earlier age and already sort of going against the grain and just sort of doing it. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I think like somehow for me, like everything somehow just happened early, like I just, even like by the time I was 22, I was like, okay, I've had enough of the partying. I've had enough of the like working in society. And I just always had something that was a little bit like I'm kind of like a little bit of a black sheep somehow. Like I just wanted to experience like more, I guess. And so like I was so obsessed with yoga from like a young age, and I did like Kundalini yoga teacher training, and that was just like so intense. Like we're on the side of this mountain in Boulder, Colorado, with these old yogi teachers that were like there with Yogi Bhajan back in the 70s, and we're like doing chanting and meditations for like 12 hours a day. And that was just really kind of the catalyst for everything. Like I just got so much more on like the spiritual path, and what brought me to India. And then I met this spiritual guru named Amma. She's like the hugging saint, and she pretty much travels all over the world. Um, and when I first met her, it was like crazy. I go into the temple, my heart is like racing, my blood is pumping. I'm like, what is going on? Am I like on drugs or something? And there's all these people like funneling in to go get a hug, because that's like her blessing is she gives people hugs, and you get this hug and it's like a rush of like so much energy and like love, and everything's just like bright and colorful, and you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? So I kind of just, that whole experience was also like really life changing, and I ended up volunteering and living at her ashram, and also traveling around Europe, America, India, like everywhere, because she was, at that time she did like world tours. So I was like working on the staff, going on the whole tour, and yeah, it was crazy. So I mean, I kind of, spirituality was a huge part of my adolescence and 20s, and I still do some spiritual practice, but it's a little difficult because I have like 2 kids now.
Yeah, I found, the more I did meditation and those things, like now it's almost like an extension of who I am. So I don't practice as regimented. Like it used to be like
Mhm.
do this, and then one day it was like another opening, and it was like, this also feels sort of manufactured a little. You know what I mean? And it's like, how about I just check in each day as far as like what I need for the day, or even every hour, right? Like even after we record this, I might go do a meditation. Just depends on how I feel. Um, but I love
Mhm.
that. That was definitely not how I spent my 20s. So kudos to you. But I want to talk a little bit more about your copywriting and your zone of genius, and just what, tell me a little bit more about what you do for your coaches and your clients.
Mhm. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm like really passionate about just authentic and like heart-centered messaging. Like after spending a lot of time in the online business world and seeing people like making huge promises and like scamming people left and right and like making everything just very fake. Like I feel like a lot of these marketing copywriting bro type people, like it's all about like how can we sort of like persuade and trick people into buying something. And so like my approach is like completely different. It's like just coming from a space of like how can you actually connect with the right people and speak in a way that resonates with them and tell stories that like make them feel stuff and like actually lead them down a journey that is going to help them to become like a better person, whatever it is, through like that product or service. So it's kind of like the whole approach is just, you know, pairing people with the right people and speaking to the right people and like making the world a better place by like helping impact driven coaches and consultants actually make money instead of just like all of the scammer people are making money.
Yes. Yes. Can I get an amen? We couldn't be more on the same mission. There's also, it's, you're like the authentic copywriter. I'm the authentic sales coach, and nothing could be more aligned, because I think when you are consciously evolved and you know that we are all one, and it doesn't make any sense for me to screw somebody else over to get mine. Like it doesn't even make sense. Like this whole like, survival of the fittest, which they've even now proven that's not what it was. Like there was more to it than that. Story for another day. But the bottom line is we are very much in concert with each other, like trees, like animals, like plants, and we're all connected. And so if that's true, then business has to evolve, because this like I get mine, I'll step on other people, I'll lie, cheat, and steal. I'll take, pictures with a private jet that's not mine just to pretend and say that I make money when I don't. Like it's really important to me. And that's actually like the main intention of this podcast, is to start to frankly expose some of the dark side of the industry, but then also inspire that there are people out there that do have the skill sets that can help you in the way that you feel good about, that doesn't compromise your integrity and truly just speaks to the heart of your ideal client. And, that's exactly it. And so you don't have, if you're taking anything from this, you don't have to do it that way. If it feels weird, slimy, misleading, it's because it is. If it feels manipulative, it's because it is. And there's an entirely more evolved, more conscious way. And you know this, your soul knows this, you know this. There's a far more impactful way to do it. And so I am just so glad to have you on this journey, because I think some of the slimiest things that are out there are the marketing, copywriting, and the sales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and another thing is like actually just connecting with people in like a real human way, because especially with like AI and people like outsourcing a lot of stuff to like virtual assistants, and it's like it becomes like this weird situation where even if you are like a business coach, like you might not even be like connecting or talking with like the people that are like buying your programs, because there's just like so many things in between. So that's why like email copywriting can be like so amazing when you're using it in a way to actually really connect on a deeper level with other people in like a human way, where you're just being like real and vulnerable, and like you're not like this perfect idol that like has a million followers and nobody can ever talk to them because they're like in this exclusive world or whatever.
So frustrating. all the
Yeah.
gatekeeping of the gurus. And, these people buy into these big programs and think that they're going to get the support that they need, and they don't. It's just not there. And, I give them the benefit of the doubt. Some of them, maybe it is difficult, if you've got 100 people that want to work with you, like, how can you have one-on-one with or in a lot of cases, thousands. So, no shame. But that is why I love the high ticket space, because you can work closely with your people, and it is about connecting and conversation, and not, like, hurting people through all the landing pages and funnels on the internet. And it just really can be so powerful, because it sounds like you are all about that too. Like, how can we connect? How can we have more authentic conversations? And to me, I mean, that's the future, whether it's collaborating or with your clients. Like, I think more
Mhm.
than anything, people need that like, holding space for them,
Mhm.
and not,
Yeah.
here's your module, press play, you know, good
Yeah.
luck. Thanks for
Yeah,
purchasing.
especially now that everyone is kind of like working from home behind their laptop, like by themselves, talking to people on social media and stuff like that. And you never even know, like, if you're even talking to a real person or if it's like a bot.
I know. I really do hope that I just going to put that intention out there, that we do find our way through this, especially as of those that are more heart-centered, to that higher vantage point of what it can look like. And I think, thank you for being part of that. And because there's a lot of us that want to do it a different way, and we don't just need one funnel away, and we're willing to put anything in it just to get clients. And there's just too many of us. I work with too many people that way. And so, of course, they're going to have issues when somebody basically tells them to mislead somebody into an offer, you know? So,
Yeah.
okay. So I know you have brought something for the audience. So I'd love for you to just give a brief description, and just everybody, before she does, just know all the links and everything, all of Michelle's information will be in the show notes. So you can find her, whether it's on YouTube or on podcast. And yeah, Michelle, please tell everybody what you've brought.
Yeah, sure. So with the link below, you can sign up for a free copy audit, where you can basically like bring to me your most heavily used copy that you're using right now. And I would love to just go through it with you and give you some tips and feedback on what you could do to actually make it better, to get more conversions from it. So whether it's like a sales page, landing page, email, ads, anything like that, feel free to sign up for a free audit, and I would love to meet with you and talk more about it.
I love that. I may take you up on that. Well, never mind. We'll talk more about that later. Okay. So last question. And this one's going to
Mhm.
be weird for me to ask you, because I feel like you, unlike many of us, we woke up a little bit later, right? Like, you've been sort of open for a while. But is there anything that you would go back and tell a former version of you, like a piece of wisdom or advice that you feel like would make a big difference?
Mhm. Yeah, so I love this question. I think I actually had this recently. I think um, what I would tell a younger version of myself, I'm kind of like an overachiever, overdoer sometimes, and I try to do like a lot of things at the same time. So if I were to give advice to myself, I would say just focus fully on one thing at a time, and don't try to do too much multitasking or dabbling or watching too many people, listening to too many people's advices, and just kind of focus more straight, put on the blinders.
Yes. Did you guys all hear that? I mean, that's such a big part of what my values and what I talk about as well, because our energy or our attention is the hottest commodity now.
Mhm.
And we have to be protective of it and intentional about it. And really, I don't know about you, but that's when things really shifted for me in my business. When no longer was somebody going to tell me what I need, and I was going to decide what it was based on my needs in my business. And it wasn't like, oh, this person has the magic bullet that's got all the answers that's going to do everything overnight. And it was, no, I need to get better at this one specific skill. Or no, I see where my gap is here. And it's important to me. Like messaging was a big one. Like it was really important to me to understand that at a deeper level and like how to really connect. And so I love that because we try to get in all the things, but it's our focus. That's where your superpower is. So
Mhm.
thank you for that, Michelle. And
Yeah.
I just really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. This was an awesome conversation.
Awesome. Well, it was a pleasure. And thank you all for listening. And we will see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you so much for listening. And I have an amazing gift for you. If you are ready to hit those 10K, 20K, 50K months and beyond, I created a next level you meditation so that you can take action and embody your higher self each day to quantum leap your business. Please listen up. Review this podcast, screenshot the review, and share it on social. And tag me, the Authentic Sales Coach, on either Facebook or IG. And I will send you this special gift as a massive thank you.